Good evening and welcome to The Frame, an initiative of Access Framingham. I'm Mackenzie Wright. We begin tonight with an update on Framingham's Community Center planned for the former Marion High School building on Union Avenue. A request has been filed by U.S. Representative Catherine Clark of the 5th Congressional District, which includes Framingham, seeking $5 million in federal money to be directed toward the planned center. This funding would be part of the community's project's budget, which is an annual congressional budget that provides funding nationwide to various community projects. Framingham purchased the former Marion High School building last year for $3.35 million, which was done using American Rescue Plan Act funding. The community center has been a huge focus for Framingham Mayor Charlie Sisitsky, who said in a statement, "I'm pleased to announce that Congresswoman Clark personally called me the other day to let me know that she had put in a request for $5 million for the community center, and that shows you how a good relationship with elected officials can help the community." Sisitsky created a community center advisory committee earlier this year with 25 members. They are tasked with developing the former site, which has a large auditorium and gymnasium. The city has even considered developing an indoor pool within the space. We'll keep you posted with updates as plans for the community center continue to progress. The Finance Subcommittee's review of the 2025 fiscal year operating and enterprise budgets locally continues. Last Wednesday, the group heard presentations on budgets for parks and recreation, library, and technology services, which all play a part in the roughly $359 million budget recommended in the city for FY25. The public library's recommended budget is close to $3.6 million, which is only a roughly 1% raise compared to FY24. Most of that number is dedicated to salary. This comes after a year where more than 150,000 resources like books and museum passes were circulated by the library, and where thousands of residents took part in programs for all ages, according to Interim Library Director Dawn Della Santa.
All of the services that you've just seen, everything that we have offered to this community, we have done without any extra staff. Our staff work very hard, they're professionals, they're excellent at what they do, and they are very committed to convincing everybody in this community to love their library.
Meanwhile, Parks and Recreation Director Jim Snyder told the Finance Subcommittee that their recommended budget is around $4.8 million, a $318,000 raise from last year. That includes about $3.3 million for Parks and Rec specifically, along with roughly $793,000 for Loring Arena and around $730,000 earmarked for the Callahan Center. Michael Cannon, District 4 City Councilor and Vice Chair of the Finance Subcommittee, said he'd like to see increased funding for the Callahan Center in the future, given what he described as the increase in the number of senior constituents in the city.
I see where the growing need in our community is, and while they'll make do with what is provided, I just don't. I worry that this is not an adequate investment that we're making. We should be investing more in our seniors.
With cybersecurity and maintenance identified as major priorities, the Technology Services Department's recommended budget for FY25 currently stands at just under $2.4 million, good for a roughly $83,000 raise. More details on the Finance Subcommittee's process will be featured later in our program as we spoke with the group's chair and at-large City Councilor George King. The search for a permanent director of libraries in Framingham is down to 2, as the Framingham Public Library Search Committee has announced the finalists for the position. As mentioned earlier, Dawn Della Santa is the interim director in the city, and she's now a part of the pair being considered. The other finalist, Manuel Leet, the current director of the Blount County Public Library in Tennessee, and formerly the library director in East Bridgewater. Leet will provide a public presentation on Tuesday, May 21st, while Della Santa's presentation will take place on Wednesday, the 22nd. Both presentations will begin at 3:30 p.m. at the main library on Lexington Street. Residents are invited to attend. A pair of updates now regarding public meetings on municipal matters. First, this Thursday evening, May the 16th, the Planning Board will be holding their public hearing regarding the application by One Howard LLC for multiple permits related to a plan for a 6-story apartment building downtown. One Howard, which is part of the larger Boston-based City Realty Group, is seeking multiple permits for the development of over 130 units on Howard Street at the current parking lot next to the Armenian Church of the Holy Translators. That public hearing was originally set to occur in April, but it was pushed back to this week. As of the time of this recording, we don't have the outcome of that meeting, but we'll be sure to feature it in next week's edition of our program. Also, Mayor Charlie Sisitsky will be holding the next installment of his district meetings on Wednesday, May 22nd, for residents of District 4. He and his administration have been in the process of visiting every district in Framingham this year in order to hear what residents have to say and to answer any questions they might have about their neighborhoods. Those from the District 4 area are invited to attend the meeting, which will run from 7 to 8 p.m. at Blocks on Upper Jocelyn Ave, and have their voices heard. As budget season here in Framingham continues and other municipal developments come in, we'll be keeping you in the loop with the news that matters to your community on our website, www.theframe.news. Need to know updates, details on neighborhood events, more information on the stories you'll see in our program, and additional locally based stories can be found on the new source for information across the city. Also, we'd love to hear about any ideas for stories that you might have, whether it's a heads up about upcoming local event matters related to the municipal government or anything else that matters to your community. You're welcome to reach out to us by phone or by email and suggest a story. You can leave a voicemail by calling 508-216-0003, or you can send a message to the Frame at accessfram.tv. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, our conversation with at-large City Councilor and Chair of the Finance Subcommittee, George King. We spoke about the ongoing review of the city's FY25 budget and how residents can get involved in the process. Stick around, The Frame will be back after this.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Be your own hero.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Welcome back to The Frame, as it's time now for our weekly focus. We've been talking a lot about Framingham's 2025 fiscal year budget on the program during the past few weeks, and there's still a long way to go before the City Council's full vote on the matter in June. In the meantime, the Framingham City Council's Finance Subcommittee has already started reviewing proposed budgets for FY25, from Framingham's public schools to the city's fire and police departments and more. To learn more about that process, the Frame invited at-large City Councilor and Finance Subcommittee Chair George King to the studio. The Frame's Brendan Fitzpatrick has the story.
Essentially, in the city form of government that we run by, the mayor files the budget the first day in May, second day in May. The City Council essentially has 6 weeks to act on it. The first 3 weeks are acted at the subcommittee level, the Finance Subcommittee, which I chair, which you described, and the second 3 weeks at the City Council themselves.
Now that budget here, it's right around, I don't have the specific number, but it's right around.
Neither do I, don't worry about it.
Yeah, $359 million as a whole. Is there anything about that grand total figure that you feel is worth providing additional context on? Any specific particular projects or initiatives that you feel like is important to you or the rest of the subcommittee or the council? Anything on that front?
Unfortunately, or better, this year is a pretty standard straight year. There's not a lot of additional revenue available this year, so this budget for the most part has no new programs in it, no major new anything really. It's just to try to keep services as level as we can within the revenues that we have this year. So unlike past years where sometimes programs and things are being introduced, this budget really does very little of that. So Sounds like a lot of money, but it's really just a function of how much we spent last year, and that's added about $10 million to it this year to just keep it pretty much as it is.
And part of that additional revenue is the 2.5% tax levy increase, adds just over $5 million in additional revenue. Is there anything that homeowners or business owners within the city have to know on that front?
Well, the point you make is true. The budget as proposed is a 2.5% increase in the tax levy. You know, that's going to increase the tax bill probably a couple $100 when the average tax bill, if your house is valued more than, I think it's $500,000 or so, which is the average, it's going to increase it more than $200. If it's less than that, it may be a little bit less. But this will be one of the bigger tax increases we've seen in recent years.
Was there any talk about making that even higher or lower one way or the other from that 2.5% mark?
Oh, there's always talk.
True.
But as of right now, there hasn't been any concrete proposals to do that. I don't think it'll go higher because in order to go higher, you'd have to spend more money, and there's no more money recommended. The city council can only cut the budget. We can't increase the budget. The mayor is the only person that can do it. He has to recommend an increase. I speak incorrect on one basis. The city council on a 2/3 vote can increase the school budget, but it has to be within existing available revenues.
Now, you as just one person, as you just mentioned, you're also in a unique position where you're not only the chair of the subcommittee, but also one of the at-large city councilors. Mm-hmm. So far, up until this point, over the last couple of weeks, months, have there been any projects requiring municipal funding that you've heard from constituents specifically that they seem really enamored with, really impassioned about, included within this budget?
Well, I think people are looking for municipal services to certainly maintain at the level they are. Public safety, education particularly are concerns. But I had not heard a lot because a lot of times when you start hearing things, it's often because of one or two things happen. Something's being taken away that people want to have occur, or something's being added that may offer some controversy. As I said a few minutes ago, this budget doesn't really have either of those things this year because of the financial situation. Therefore, I think it has been, in some regards, a relatively quiet budget year. There's a few activists who always have opinions, and I appreciate that. But for the most part, I think everyone understands the parameters, and so far, everybody's been happy. So in a year that has been a little challenging, I think people are actually pretty happy.
And if anyone wants to provide any of their thoughts throughout this process, is there an avenue for them to do so over the next couple of weeks?
Absolutely. You can go to the website, and you can, the City of Framingham website, framinghamma.gov, and go to the City Council page, and in one click, you can email all of us.
Is there a public comment period coming up regarding this at the Memorial Building where people can also do that if they prefer?
There'll be public meetings on it, and the public meeting schedule is on there. We certainly take public comment at all times, so you can do it by writing, calling, anything like that, and we'd be happy to hear your thoughts.
Anything else about this budgeting process that you think is pertinent for citizens to know about?
I think the budget process is very important because it determines what we're going to spend and what our policies are and what our city services are going to look like. Unfortunately, it doesn't really get much attention, even in years when things are a little bit more controversial. The attention tends to be minimal. So as a city councilor, sometimes that is a little frustrating. The time we hear the most about it is in the fall when we're going to set the tax rate. But unfortunately, by the time we set the tax rate, we've already decided 6 months previously what we're going to spend. So it is a very important process that it has been hard to get people really actively involved. And I think part of the reason is because it's such a large number, like you said at the beginning.
Again, as Councilor King mentioned, if you would like to join the conversation and make your voice heard, you can visit the city's website at www.framinghamma.gov and navigate to the City Councilor page where you can get in touch through email. If you would prefer to pick up the phone, you can call 508-532-5655. Again, that's 508-532-5655. Let's shift gears now to our weather and take a look at what we can expect heading into the weekend. It's looking like Friday will be mostly sunny throughout the day, highs in the lower 70s and lows around 50 degrees. Clouds will move into the evening, with Saturday being mostly cloudy, highs in the mid-60s and lows in the upper 40s. Finally, for Sunday, partly sunny. Highs will top out in the mid-60s and lows will be in the upper 40s. Before we take a quick break, we want to remind you that The Frame is taped weekly at Access Framingham Studio, located in the heart of the Framingham Center Common Cultural District. Access Framingham's mission is to engage, serve, and enrich the community by developing programming by and for the people of Framingham. providing educational opportunities and facilitating the exchange of ideas and information through traditional and new media. Access Framingham offers personalized workshops in Adobe Creative Suite, podcasting, and TV production. AFTV provides a creative and supportive learning community for students, adults, and retirees. Membership is open to all who work, live, or attend school in Framingham. The AFTV team also ventures out into the community to bring you coverage of the latest events going on throughout our city. Our production manager, Amy Harding, recently took a visit to the Verve Hotel in Natick to check out the 11th annual Taste of Metro West. She had a look at all of the delectable bites and tasty treats offered there. Let's take a look. Welcome back. Let's see what else is happening in Framingham, as residents of the region are taking part in 2 events this weekend for good causes. In recognition of Mental Health Awareness Month, the United Way of Tri-County will be hosting a community event called Hope Blooms at their community garden, located at 46 Park Street in Framingham. On Saturday, May 18th, United Way's Call to Talk and the Metro West Regional Coalition for Suicide Prevention invite the community to attend and observe the hopeful sight of spring blooms, as respects are paid to those who have been lost to suicide. There will be other community mental health resources available at the event, as well as free kid-friendly activities. You can stop by from 1 to 4 p.m. And if you or someone you know is struggling with their mental health or are in crisis, you can reach out to the numbers on your screen. Call to Talk is a 24-hour, 365 days a year confidential line, and they are there to listen. Then on Sunday the 19th, the American Parkinson Disease Association will be holding their Massachusetts Optimism Walk at Bowditch Field on Union Avenue. Participants have been raising awareness for the disease and money to make a difference. Check-ins for the events will begin at 11 a.m., while a ceremony will take place at noon prior to the walk. The event will be held rain or shine. Whatever you're up to this weekend, we'd love to hear from you on social media. We can be found at @FrameNews_ on both Instagram as well as X. Follow us there for daily updates. Also, subscribe to the Access Framingham channel on YouTube and hit the bell icon there to be notified when new episodes of the program go live each week. We're on Facebook too. You can find us by simply searching for The Frame. It's been Seniors Week at the Callahan Center on Union Avenue in Framingham, hosted in celebration of Older Americans Month. Looking ahead to next week, however, on Monday, May 20th, a senior resource fair will be held at the Callahan Center from 2 to 4 p.m. Representative Clark's biannual event will provide residents with resources from local organizations, nonprofits, and agencies. Seniors can learn more about Social Security, Medicare, safety, wellness programs, and more. The fair is free for all residents aged 55 and above. And finally tonight, a salute to Framingham State University's class of 2024. Recipients of graduate and undergraduate degrees will be having their commencement ceremonies this weekend. Graduates will have their ceremony at the Logan Gymnasium on campus this Friday, May 17th at 5:30 p.m. Commencement for the undergrads will be at the DCU Center in Worcester at 10 a.m. on Sunday, the 19th. A stream of the ceremonies will be provided at www.framingham.edu. Congratulations to all the FSU grads. That's all for this week's Framingham News in Focus. For the entire team here at The Frame, we want to thank you for spending time with us. I'm Mackenzie Wright. Have a wonderful weekend and good night.